Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are wondering why am I on the top right corner of your screen today, it's because we are doing something a little different. We're going to review my last CRWV video. I'm going to fast forward this a little bit but pause in the middle somewhere to explain you what is happening. And we're going to do this to review and understand where we were, what I predicted, why I predicted, and why is the stock up 80% from the bottom. How are we able to predict this is the most important question of this video, because no matter how many people tell you that it's impossible to time the stocks, I'm here to tell you that you can find sniper-like entries and you can predict the next possible leg up or leg down on a stock. And once we have gone over CRWV, we can open up the discussion in the second part for the other tickers, the other stocks that I might be watching that can do a similar reaction from a precise liquidity zone. So with that being said, let's get started. CRWV is headed into the exact zone that I called out a few weeks ago. My goal was to stop people from entering this ticker symbol around $100, $110 area because there was a clear indication that we were going to head lower. And I understand a lot of people do not see that sometimes because technical charting is not an easy skill set to develop because it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and experience with different types of market cycles. And if you are somebody who struggles with FOMO, struggles with understanding supply-demand zones, I'm putting together a community in a few months where we'll go over all tickers. We might put in some educational content in there, but my goal is to keep you out of the market as much as possible and only enter with sniper-like precision so we can profit off the market with 2 to 3 setups a year. The registration link is in the description and in the comments below. With that said, let's discuss why this stock was meant to revisit $63, $64. And it's mostly because we tried to bottom out on this exact region, but we finally broke out above this downtrend. But clearly, there were key rejection zones around 110, 120 area. You can see that the weekly candles like this one, and this one are showing no strength whatsoever. Every time the stock breaks above 110, we see supply coming in and the stock gets rejected. And in most cases, this could look like a true bottom. But just because of these rejections, I started to quickly realize that we are not meant to break out just yet. There was also a theory going around in the market that we are creating this downtrend where we will break out of and then we'll revisit it and then go back up. And this is exactly the reason why I'm putting this community together, is because people do not have the technical experience to understand that this might happen once in a blue moon, but this is not how technicals work. Most likely, if this setup is to play out, we will go up, come back down to revisit the previous low. We'll sweep this level out and then continue higher. And you might ask, what might be the reason for this to happen? Looking back, this looks so obvious to me because obviously the stock has gone up a lot. We're around $100 now after going lower. But this rejection zone was the first indication to me that we are not ready to go higher. It's because if institutions were to buy large blocks of CRWV, they will probably need it to go into a zone where most people will get stopped out. So there's a massive flush of liquidity. People are exiting while they are purchasing the stock. And if you look back, for sometimes when I say things like that, massive liquidity areas, institutions coming in, it sounds like I'm making things up. And even when I'm listening back to my videos, I'm like, who do people even understand this? And looking and watching the stock live, it's actually funny how that's exactly how stocks move. So we'll continue here. For last 13 to 15 months, the stock has never gone below $63, $65 area, and we have printed some very bullish candles on the low as well. So all the people who purchase the stock here will probably think that we're about to flush lower, and this is the end of CRWV. And in that mix of supply and demand, in that liquidity flush is where institutions will be able to purchase their positions, and the stock might do something like this. We go down, we continue back up and never revisit this level, or we might go up, leave this level again to freak out more people, get more stop losses out, and then continue higher. Now, this is an A+ setup in my opinion that is skewed to the upside, but the reason I'm very careful with this one is because there's too much debt that CRWV has taken. You can see this morning that the Korean stock market has gone. I think this is a great place to pause this video. You can watch the rest of it on my channel if you like to. Let me go back to my original size here. Let me go back to my bottom right corner. But here we are, guys, 3 weeks later, doing exactly what we predicted. The sweep of level 64, 65, and then we go lower just to find new buyers and then reverse back very quickly. This is, let's say you enter at 64. This is already a 73% trade. And what have I said in the last 30 plus videos I've made? I only created this channel to find you setups that will give you 50 to 100% winners, if not more. And this is a great example of what I'm watching for in the market. because this requires a lot of patience. This requires you to sit back and evaluate stocks most of the time, but when time comes to attack, you don't think twice. You just strike and you go long. Now, if you're somebody who might have taken a position at 65, you're looking at how much money you made in 2 weeks, you have a choice to just sell everything and sit on the sidelines and do not look back at the stock for next few months, or you can wait till we go back into the supply zone of about 120, 125 area and sell right around here, because there's a very high chance we go into this zone, maybe come back, consolidate before we break another leg higher, or we can continue this momentum and the next weekly candle we're breaking right above it. And this happened on the last trade I took, which was Oscar. We never saw a pullback. I really thought after entering at 11 we might come back, pull back here and then continue higher. We saw no pullbacks whatsoever. In fact, this consolidation is building up for another leg that will break into 40s down the road. But here we are on CRWV, guys. Within 3 weeks we have reversed. My goal here is to continue finding these types of setups for you. They won't appear on daily basis, but every 2, 3, 4, maybe even 6 months, we will find that one gem that will reverse instantly and you will see very minimum drawdown. The question isn't if you can find these setups, because if you follow my channel, I can guarantee you that we'll find these setups. The question is, can you sit in cash? Can you sit on the sideline waiting for these types of setups, right? So with that said, let's move on to the next part of the video, where I'm going to show you a few ticker symbols and see if they make sense to purchase down the road, and we can find a similar reaction that we found on CRWV. But before we move forward, I do want to mention one last thing, right? The reason this strategy works so well is because we're looking for the max pain scenarios and we're entering where everybody is stopping out. And if we are wrong, we might enter the stock at, let's say, $62, $63, and it continues lower to maybe $50. And that is almost a 15-20% drop, versus if you were entering this because of FOMO and everybody else telling you on Twitter to buy, you might have had to sit through a 45% drawdown. And yes, this will be a great recovery story. Oh, I held through a 45% drawdown. But it isn't as great as somebody who held it from 64 all the way to 110 and maybe possibly 150, right? So it is very important to know where you're entering and also minimizing your downside, because the cash you hold right now is your nest egg. Because if you don't have money to buy stocks, you can't participate in the markets, right? So it's very important that you minimize your downside. And with that being said, let's talk about this first ticker that I want to go over is JD. Now, JD has come down to my buy zone 2 times already, but I am not going to take this trade unless we pull below $24. Let me remove these trend lines. I don't know when I drew these, but if we cannot sweep this previous level from 2024, and obviously this was the next level that was created and another level, now we have triple bottom type of scenario going on. If we don't sweep this level, we don't have the buyers, the institutional buyers we need to push the stock over $45. So for you to just enter on these random spots where the valuation makes sense, and I know if you bought the stock at $27, $28, even $30, the fundamentals totally make sense and you are buying a pretty good company at a pretty cheap valuation. The problem is that it will take us a long time to get back up. But if we can sweep this liquidity zone, we will most likely see an instant reversal like we saw on CRWV. So it's very important that we enter at liquidity zones where institutions can also participate. The next ticker we should go over is SoFi. I made a few videos on SoFi already. Now, there's always a chance that we break out higher here, continue towards $24, and then come down, or we break out here and go towards 30 plus. I don't think those scenarios are going to work out, especially the one where we break about 24 and then continue to 30. I think if we can sweep these 3 triple bottom type of formations we have created on a weekly chart, we should come down into a buy zone, which is a previous consolidation zone. And all the people who have been purchasing this stock from 2025 June till today will get flushed out, because nobody will be willing to hold this. And if we do come down towards $14-13 area, it won't just be SoFi. Most likely the indices are also coming down. So the fear is at all-time high, and this is a pretty good growth company. I really like the fundamentals. And when I enter at 13, 12, or $14, I will most likely hold it for quite a decent amount of time. I'm talking 3 to 6 months where it could reverse back up and give me the 80 to 120% gain that I'm looking for. The next ticker I want to go over is app, which is actually going into the buy zone as we speak. I made a video on it that if we sweep the liquidity zone of about 320, we are sitting pretty well into a flush zone. And I'm not a huge fan of going long on app 11 here overall in general, because I don't really care for the company as much. I don't understand the fundamentals as deeply as I do on some other stocks. But the reason I picked this stock is because I want you to see what the price looks like when it's coming down into the liquidity zone. It looks like it will never find the floor. It looks like it will keep going lower, and panic is at all-time highs because this just looks extremely bearish. Look at all the weekly candles we previously printed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 extremely chunky red bearish candles, and they don't look like they will reverse. But just for the heck of it, you know what? I'll take a position into it and I'll post about it in a few days. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know. But what I will be watching here if I go long is to see a close above the previous liquidity zone within the next 2 days. Because by Friday, if we can close above 320, that is all that matters. And that's exactly what we saw on CRWV as well. Notice as we were going down, it looked bearish, but we reversed back up above the previous liquidity zone. So this became a pretty nice bullish candle. Even though on app 11 this candle looks very bearish, we can turn things around very quickly. My conviction on this isn't as high as it was on CRWV. It's not as high as it was on JD that I'm still watching. But with that being said, let me go over a stock that I didn't do the right research on, and I made a big mistake of going long on PayPal. Honestly speaking, this could have been avoided, and it's so important to be disciplined when you're taking trades like this. And on PayPal, I was watching these triple bottom. First, I was watching these double bottom to get swept. We didn't quite sweep this level. As you can see, we pretty much matched this level here. So I was hoping that down the road we sweep this level and then reverse back up. But sadly, when I entered the stock, I totally ignored the fact that we are not closing a bullish candle, the bullish weekly candle that I usually look for, above the liquidity zone. And I was like, let me just hang in there. And I forgot that there were earnings coming up the same week. I took a pretty big loss on this stock. I took about a 15% hit on my portfolio, and on the size that I take, honestly, that morning I was laughing about it because I've been through this many times before in my early career. But as somebody who knows and understands charts now, I can sit back and laugh because I know I'll make the money back. But I also look at the chart and I'm like, yep, definitely my ego got involved. I gave it another week to see if it reverses back. I could have just sized down. I could have taken it out and maybe bought back in about $58, $59, $60. I could have done so many different things. So with that said, I hope these examples were helpful. I hope the CRWV analysis were helpful. And if you found value in this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching.